Hey, Jordy, thanks for joining. It's good to see you, and certainly appreciate the partnership with Belden. And speaking of the partnership relationship, over the past year, we spent a lot of time working together between the Belden hardware edge devices and Litmus software. How have you seen that developing in our relationship as benefits to customers over the past year?
Yeah, I just want to go a bit back 120 years. So as you might know, Belden has been in the market for 120 years approximately. So we been founded as a cable company, providing and selling cable to our customers. And over the years, over the 120 years, I'm not going to explain everything in every year, but at least over the 120 years, we've been inventing ourselves every time again. So we've been acquiring companies, have been adding more capabilities to what we did from that cable side of things. So in the long 125 years, I would say almost, we have now been building a brand which is helping customers from hardware perspective, software perspective, as well as service perspective. And where Litmus fits in is that it's specifically the connection in and one of the elements of the software perspective. So we've been building a platform which is called Belden Horizon. And in the platform, as I mentioned, we have been highlighting three capabilities, is our three competences, I would say. That's services, that's hardware and software. And in that, one of the things what we are doing with Litmus, for example, is building a strong software capability which can do something like data contextualizations as well as data normalizations and bring data from production facilities to a cloud perspective or to a on-premise service to do analytics, to drive OEE performances and all that kind of stuff. So we are really using Litmus capabilities in adding our Belden Horizon portfolio and enriching that and see how we can then build further on those software platforms, for example.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think everyone realizes they're sitting on a gold mine of OT data, and they really struggle on where to get started. What do you tell customers when they ask you?
Yeah, it's 100% true, right? The gold mine is what it is. And what we see a lot of times is that we try to help our customers to first start with a decent plan, right? What do you would like to accomplish from a business perspective as well? What kind of technology would you like to embed it in your way forward in that journey? For example, we start with a current infrastructure. We are dealing with companies and customers which are in the market for decades and decades of years. They also have an infrastructure which is decades of years old, right? So you cannot say, well, change everything for new stuff because cost-wise, that's not working right. So you need to see, first of all, what is your current infrastructure and build a foundation which allows you to build that data highway, that data pipeline in a secure, safe, and orchestrated manner. And that's where we are supporting our customers already in. It's from the get-go, we try to understand what is their current install base, what does their infrastructure look like, and see how we can help them get access to that data. And second thing is there is a lot of customers and clients who have this kind of interoperability challenge, right? They have a lot of islands of automation, assets which are not connected, so the infrastructure is not ready to support that kind of data lake perspective. So you need to first build that infrastructure line, which helps you to address interoperability, translate those proprietary protocols to a unified namespace, for example, as well see how we can then build that journey that you start with a small use case, a small business case, and then see how you can build further on that use case. I find it very hard to believe that you can start and build an infrastructure from scratch. You need to first say, okay, what is your current install base? Where are you like to go to? So set a technology, set an end goal, and then with some milestones in between, you can build towards that end goal. And the network, of course, plays a pivot role into that, as well than the technology you embed for making that data lake function.
Yeah. Well, something you mentioned around network and security, concern for every customer. What are some of the challenges you see, and how do you work with customers to address those?
Yeah. So, for example, let me part on the network part. As I mentioned already, there's a lot of heritage. Customers are using different kind of manufacturing components, different kind of islands of automations. They use systems from, Siemens, Schneider, you name it, right? They have different kind of protocols. So first of all, you need to make, as I mentioned earlier, that connection of the data highway. So instead of you have your process control environment, that's what it is. But in order to make that data highway, you need to have something like edge computing or a gateway or a highway where you can pull data from that same source, that same asset, without interfering your process control domain. So you always need to, at least from our perspective, you need to build kind of a separate kind of highway where you can work with your data without interfering your valuable assets and your production environment. So it's one of our goals to set up that infrastructure which is not interconnecting with the process control, as well as that from a security perspective, that's completely safe. So make a simple analogy here. If a customer is using their data infrastructure sufficiently, they can easily pull out a cable or something from their edge computer, which not interferes the process control. Right? Yeah. It's all about keeping your production plant uptime as high as possible, while then having your data highway, your data pipeline, as efficient as possible as well. So we are helping them in that, making that effort towards that big data pipeline or big data highline, how you would like to call it. Right? It's building that infrastructure.
Right.
And security is a important element, because obviously you don't want that if you, for example, connect to a cloud system, that you can easily connect to an asset which is your most vulnerable asset in your plant, which if that asset will be jeopardized, that your production will stop. That cannot happen, right? So this way you put in a decent amount of rule set, firewall capabilities, secure remote access, all these kind of functionalities to keep your infrastructure set for only people who can actually have access to that infrastructure.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jordy. Now, something you've touched on a little bit, I think, in the way you think about projects, the way you think about working with customers, I think it's a big part that differentiates Belden. I mean, if you had to highlight some other things that really you think makes a difference for your customers, what are some things?
Yeah. I think we differentiate ourselves from not only being a hardware provider, right? So as I told you, we're 120 years in the market. We have a strong install base and knowledge in the OT environment, so operational technology. And in those 120 years, we see different kind of challenges our customers are facing, right? It starts with different kind of protocols, what they're handling. We understand the critical elements of having robust resilience network to make sure that your plant is optimizing and working as the optimized way as possible. And second of all, is that we are building those capabilities from where there's a set of hardware, what we produce and manufacture ourselves, as well as now a set of software, which is complementary to those hardware products, right? So we can provide our customers a turnkey solution with one single vendor in the likes of Belden to help eventually be successful in a digital transformation. So instead of going to company A, B, C, D, you can knock on Belden's door. We can help them to drive that digital transformation in their OT environments and have a trustworthy partner in that way to move forward. And especially now with the development of our Belden Horizon platform, we are adding more and more capabilities in that platform. So it really is something where the customer has a one-stop shop, what I call a one-stop shop or a single glass of paint, right? There you can project your use case towards us. We have the knowledge from the OT since the 120 years in that OT segment, right? We have a wide portfolio of hardware, software, which we can offer. As well, we have the services from our, we call it custom innovation centers, but that's just a facility. But we have people with the knowledge like engineers, consultants, solution consultants, digital automation consultants, and R&D behind that, which are then the intelligence of making different products to a solution for the customer. So I think that's differentiate us from the rest of the market, of the rest of the hardware providers in the market. We are not only a hardware provider, we're adding more and more software capabilities as well. Then the last point, I think that's also a very important point, is the competences. How do you bring those products together as a set of solutions? And how do you convert that to business cases and business outcomes, which helps the customer eventually in their digital transformation, for example?
Yeah. Well, something you mentioned certainly that resonates with me, and I think most customers we talk to, is the fact that you operate in a really heterogeneous environment. I mean, no one has a single platform, system, hardware area, and I think that Belden's done a particularly good job at being agnostic from that standpoint and putting together a solution that works with the existing infrastructure. Can you chat a little bit more about that flexibility in the way that
Yeah.
you do work with customers?
Yeah, sure, sure. It's actually a good question because what we believe and what we are a strong believer of is that we need to believe we should be able to implement our solutions and technology in each facility, right? If it's an install base from manufacturer A, B, or C, if it has a protocol X, Y, Z, we don't care, right? We set ourselves to the likes of the customer, what they would like to work with, and what kind of softwares and hardware they would like to fulfill. Where we play a role as Belden is this vendor agnosticism, that we want to be working with all the big manufacturers in the world, as well as the customers who are working with those big manufacturers in the world. So I would say we are positioning ourselves between the sensor and the cloud. Right? If the customer prefers a sensor from company Anders and ours or often Siemens, well, we are perfectly well to work with those products. As well, if the company prefers to work with an analytical platform or a cloud, which is AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud, we don't basically care. We are providing an infrastructure between the sensor and the cloud. As well, from a manufacturing point of view, so for example, process control systems as well as DCSs, PLCs, we have built a platform which can communicate up to 300 protocols. So if you have, again, a Profinet or Bumpus TCP, Ethernet IP, whatever it is, we can connect to everything, and we make sure that infrastructure highline is available to any kind of cloud system, on-prem system, or even hybrid models. So for us, it's important that we stick to the vendor agnosticism, as well as then working with the likes of Litmus to go to market together and see how we can then take the benefits of each individual specialty to help our customers better in this direction.
Well, yeah, that's what I hear you saying. It's not about focusing on the inputs that the customer brings to you. It's about focusing on the outcomes that they want to accomplish.
Exactly.
And to me, that's what really separates Belden as well. Is like, hey, what's the outcome you want, and let's look at the infrastructure investments that you have. Let's make the most of those investments.
Exactly. And to add on that, I think, right, if you, for example, take OEE, overall equipment efficiency, you want to increase that level. So in order to or decrease your costs or to improve your margins or whatever it is. So we cannot then ask for tons and millions of investments to completely change your infrastructure because our solution or products are not fitting into your infrastructure. So that's why, again, from the get-go, we want to and stay and remain vendor agnostic. So again, a good twist as well, building on that Belden Horizon platform, for example, where Litmus is a strong part of that, is that we can also run applications in the likes of from Litmus, for example. We run a Litmus application on our Belden Horizon just to facilitate customer needs. So again, here, why it's so important to have the vendor agnosticism is that we can then also use the customer applications, I would say, embedded in our program, or vice versa. The customer already has a subset of application running. We can be then the network orchestration organization or the data orchestration organization, which can help you contextualize the data, do that brokering. This kind of data needs to go to an enterprise level, this needs to be shop floor level, and that kind of stuff. So we're really playing a role in all that kind of elements in the OT space.
Yeah. Well, I think being vendor agnostic allows you to be customer focused.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
You only get to choose one.
Exactly.
You choose the customer.
Sure.
Well, Jordy, thanks so much for joining me today. Anything else you want to add before we close off?
Well, I think again, I would like to emphasize again the partnership that we have with Litmus. We have a strong offering to the market. I know that the customers are in this kind of digital transformations. Don't hesitate to come to the booth or here or to our booth in Hall 16, I guess, where we're showcasing and demonstrating the latest technologies. So really demonstrating the Belden Horizon capabilities. And I'm looking forward to our next collaborations and customer engagements.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jordy.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
cheers.